Hello, sisters. Welcome to Rising Feminine Online Temple, which is a 7 days initiation for women to journey back to their true essence. I am Jonita D'Souza, your feminine lifestylist and the keeper of this online temple, where I have gathered visionaries from around the world to join forces to initiate you in your authentic feminine. And a big part of my work with women is to invite them into indulging in rituals in their everyday living. So, in this moment, I also invite you to create a safe, sacred space for yourself to receive today's offering. This online temple would have been really incomplete without the presence of conscious masculine energy, and which is why I have invited a special guest, Aaron Kleinermann. He is a transformational coach and he assists his clients from moving from inner chaos to true authentic power. His coaching assists people to step boldly outside of their comfort zone and into their inherent greatness. For over a decade now, he has dedicated his time and energy to perpetual self discovery while assisting his clients to awaken to their heart's wisdom. Aaron has transformed from a licensed navigator of the seas to assisting people to navigate their lives. He is a global citizen who travels, teaches, and educates in workshops, private sessions, and retreats. In his own journey, he transcended massive inner chaos in his youth to eventually experience life from the lens of love. So, Aaron, welcome so much.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here.
So, Aaron, where are you calling in right now from? Tell us about it.
Right now, I can hear the with Visa sunshine.
Great. That's awesome. So today, before we started our call, I did a small meditation to tune into our conversation today, and I did pull out a goddess oracle card, and goddess Vesta came out.
Mm.
And are you familiar with this goddess?
I'm not familiar. No, tell me.
So I think she is a Roman goddess and she is all about home and improving situations at home or building new home or moving in, moving out or going to a new place or making a home, something like that.
Okay.
And interesting because your bio said that you are a global citizen and I like that. And I just wanted to quickly ask you, how does this, if this goddess resonates in this moment for you in any way?
Well, when I think of home, especially from living what feels like sometimes out of a suitcase for many, many years, wherever I am, like right now, I'm in Ibiza. I'll be here for most of the summer, which is a bit of a change for me. But wherever I am is my home. And I feel like I had to make that shift in my mind a long time ago because oftentimes people travel and they're always trying to get back to home.
Yeah.
But if home is always where I lay my hat, where I lay my head, and really the world is our home and we get to see and breathe and be with all of these beautiful other people and societies all over the world, and it makes it a lot more easeful and graceful in terms of the inner psyche.
That's true. And traveling teaches us so much as well about different people, different cultures, and ourselves, most importantly.
When I first started traveling in my early 20s, I used to say a month of traveling was like a year at university, just from all the situations, all the people, and financially,
Yeah,
mentally, emotionally, all the things that come up. It really pushes you at the edges
yeah,
for your own inner growth in many ways.
yeah, amazing. So, Aaron, tell us, how did you get started in your sacred work that you're doing right now?
Well, I won't be too long with it all, but essentially I went to a maritime academy for university, spent years working out at sea as a merchant mariner, but always had a love for human development and human growth. It was actually, I just shared a story the other day when I was 19 on board a ship going out to the Iraqi war.
Oh,
It was
yeah,
a,
I
it
read
was
that post. That was a
yeah,
long post, and yeah, but yeah.
it was a long one, but essentially it opened me up to recognize that this world is massively big, yet we're massively small at the same time. So we have a choice inside of every situation. And as I continued through my journey, I ended up taking a 2-year degree in spiritual psychology, which was very powerful. It really gave me more and more tools and techniques for human behavior and why we're here and what we're doing and what this whole earth experiment really is in many ways. And with that experiment of our souls inside of these bodies, like, it was always fascinating to me of, like, how can I then show up with the most massive amount of influence and love and gratitude in my day-to-day world, to be to be of influence, to be of service to others.
And so, what was this breaking point in your life that made you realize that this is time for me to change something?
Well, I would say there's been a variety of breaking
Yeah,
points for
yeah.
sure. I mean, definitely as a child, I mean, I watched my parents go through multiple bankruptcies. I watched them go through divorce. I watched, some pretty traumatic abuses and things happening in both mentally and emotionally, and it just always was testing my will, testing my ability to transcend the challenges of life, and that set me on this journey through a military school, which was so far outside my comfort zone, but I learned so much about it. And then, like, each time I feel like I got to that plateau of comfort, something else came along the way to said, hey, no, keep going, keep growing, keep rising. And I think more than anything, that's what I try to bring forth when I'm working with someone, is that when we get to that comfort zone, yeah, feeling comfortable can be good. I felt comfortable when I was working out at sea as a mariner, when I was living in Hawaii and working half the year and traveling half the year. It was great. But I knew inside there was something else there. There was a presence, there was a way of being that was calling me forth into a greater essence of my life, rather than just a kind of selfish way I was living. And it was great. I traveled, I made tons of money. It was great as a mariner, but I knew I wanted to be of greater service. So I think more than anything, that's the thread that always stays with me along the way, is how can I be of best service each and every day of my life.
So, talking about essence of presence, which we initially decided to bring this topic in together. So, what do you mean by the essence of presence when you said that to me? What did you initially mean by that?
Well, I think especially for the listeners who I imagine you're speaking to a very feminine crowd, and one of the gifts I feel like the masculine can give most effectively is presence. In a contextual manner, the way I kind of see is that this masculine is this presence. It's kind of this nothingness, because people spend their entire lives to meditate in the mountains and get to the state of eternal bliss. But until they're recognizing the swirling energy of the feminine, like everything, the emotions, the chaos, all of that, and have appreciation for it, then they're unable to sit inside that presence. You can sit in nothingness, but if you don't have gratitude for the good, the bad, the kind, the cruel that are happening simultaneous inside of that presence, then it's very kind of alluring in the wrong direction, if you will. So really the presence is being able to sit through everything through the eyes of gratitude.
So, what are some ways that one can start cultivating more presence in this chaotic world?
Well, I would say, and some of this may feel a little counterintuitive, but one of the best modalities for doing that is being willing to express your emotions, being willing to express your feelings, being as transparent you can with your family, with your beloved, with your friends. Because what happens is people are unable to be present inside of conversations, inside of dialogue, because usually their mind is
Yeah.
reverberating to the things they wish they did differently, or their mind is reverberating to moments in the future that they want to have in a different way, instead of actually being present. So I utilize a maritime term in this, when I can allow my mind to be my co-navigator, meaning that the mind is always working. It's equilibrating, bring to balance the past remembered fears and guilts, and it's bringing to balance the future projected fantasies. Then it enables me to be in presence, which is the enabling agent of our heart. And the heart ends up being the navigator of our life, when the co-navigator, the mind, is too busy to keep staying busy, so that the heart can feel inside the presence of what is actually going on in that moment.
Yeah, that's true, and we can relate to that every day when we are in conversations, and we just try to, we tend to drift away from the conversation, and like, what were you saying?
Exactly. You see it happen so much, and I think one of the best gifts that we can give a partner, especially, or even a friend, it doesn't have to be masculine or feminine, but when we just sit there and we give them our undivided, full attention. And for many people, when you first do that, it is challenging. I'm not saying this is an easy thing to do because the mind is so busy. So by learning tools, tips, techniques, so that the mind can recognize the equanimity, the balance that's always happened, that always will happen, it enables us to actually be present and to hear the words that are coming out of the mouth of the individual that we're listening to, not thinking about what we want to say next, not thinking about what we wished we said before, but actually just being completely present with what that individual is saying.
That's true, and there's a gift in that moment as well. I think the person listening, on the other hand, or the person talking, can always feel that when you drift away.
Absolutely, absolutely. But then their inner critic comes in and says, "Oh,
Exactly.
why aren't they listening to me? Do they not like me? What's wrong with this? Blah 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 blah." It just goes on.
Yeah, I know I used to get really triggered with my partner that every time I'm talking and he would be just doing something like, why are you not listening to me? Just listen, just look at me when I'm talking. And that would just lead to another argument and henceforth, yeah.
Absolutely, and one of the I would say techniques or practices that Sophia and I, my partner, often incorporate into our day is that, not every day, but when we can, sometimes we'll just sit down in front of each other for 10, 15 minutes, super present. We might have a lot of things going on. Doesn't mean we didn't talk throughout the day, but we just say, hey, what's present? And we just give we give her, she gives me that 15, 20 minutes, 10 minutes, undivided attention just to express. Because as I was saying, when we have the ability just to express what's going on inside and be heard, sometimes that's all we actually need, because it's just emotions. All these emotions are really illusions in the first place, but we want to express them because we have an emotional body and we need to allow that to be heard. And so when we give our partner that ability to just completely share, there's no internet, there's no smartphone, there's no TV, there's no nothing else other than just, hey, I'm here, I love you, I'm being present for you right here and right now. That's the best gift, a really powerful tool that everybody listening to this can really take into their life.
That's true. And phone has been such a distraction
Oh.
in us being present.
I was just finished this really powerful conference out here in Ibiza called A-Fest, and one of the
Oh, yeah.
speakers was saying, one of the things that she incorporates into her partnership is there's a principle of no phone in the bedroom. And that might be a little challenging for some, but there's a presence that it entails to do that. And that might not be the answer for you all, but try it, see what happens. And, that might be a better way to be more present with the emotions, with the feelings of your partner.
That's true. I totally agree with that. But how can one experience this presence just by themselves? Let's say they are single and they're not in a relationship, and how can they become present with their own emotions?
Well, that's a great question. I mean, first of all, one of the key things that I like to do myself that might be a little bit weird for some is, we go look into the mirror
We
and we
like
see
weird things.
and we look at it, we look at ourselves, we see our eyes, and we're like, whoa. And we know some of us know how to eye gaze with others, and it's so beautiful to see the essence of another individual and see their soul. But how many of us actually take time, whether it's in a day-to-day or week-to-week basis, to sit there and look at the soul within us? Like, does our mind get distracted? Can we just sit there and really gaze into our own eyes and to use that mirror to reflect back to us anything that we're not seeing within? So the mirror eye gazing tool is really, really powerful. And my computer's trying to restart on me. I don't know why. So, utilizing the mirror as a way just to simply like look, and it might feel really freaking uncomfortable, but stay with it. One of the best things that we can do with that uncomfortable feeling is just to sit with it, not to run away, not to numb, not to stuff our face with potato chips or, bite our nails or do all these other things that
Or look
numb
at
us,
our flaws.
or look at all of our flaws, just to
Yeah.
say, wow, like, thank you for this beautiful being that I am inside. Because when we see the beauty inside of ourselves, then that's all we're going to see out in the world around us. We're going to see the good, the bad, the kind, the cruel. We're going to see, like, I'm not a perfect individual, but I'm perfectly imperfect. Like, I have my flaws. I have the things, oh, maybe I want to shift a little bit of this or that. But it just allows me to see me through the eyes of me. Again, it can feel a little bit weird, but try it out. Try it for 5 minutes. Try a 5-minute eye gazing session with yourself. See what happens.
That's true. I really like when you said that, see the beauty inside me, a
Mm.
beauty of me inside. Like, none of us, I think, we are not, first of all, taught this way, especially women, to see the beauty inside. There's so much of attention and work done to look beautiful on the outside. And this is one of the challenges that women face as well, to see within, see beyond that mask. And that's so beautifully expressed.
Exactly. And thinking about all the time and energy we spend into making ourselves beautiful, which is great. Like, it's great to put on our makeup, and I don't put on makeup often, but I guess I could. But like, just to really to see our own beauty and the shape, because at the end of the day, like, I am, you are, anyone who's listening to this is a unique DNA intelligence. Like, we have all the gifts, we have all the wisdom inside, we have all the beauty inside. There's nothing we need to go get from anyone, from anybody. When we can see that inside of ourselves, we get to give the gift of our own presence, of our own beauty, to all the other people in our life.
Yeah, that's true. It's about also validating yourself, isn't it? Instead of looking for it outside of yourself.
Absolutely, absolutely. And when we can validate our own, like, that's kind of like one of the, you could call it a massive, like, flaw within our own consciousness, because there's this irrational belief or limiting belief that somehow deep inside of us, that we think we're not worthy, we think we're not good enough, we think we're inherently broken. And this is really a driving force for so many people throughout our life, is that we're trying to remember that we are not broken, that we are divine, that we are a divine child of a divine presence of God, if you want to say it, not a religious God, but a universal presence. And we're always trying to fix ourselves because we inherently think that we're broken. So when we can shift that awareness to know that we're not flawed, we're not broken, we're a unique DNA specimen that's here for a particular purpose, for a particular reason. And that reason gets to be uncovered as we sit with ourselves in greater forms of our own presence.
So share with us, what are some ways that you personally cultivate presence in your everyday life?
How I cultivate presence?
Yeah, some of
You
your
know,
favorite practices that you do with to yourself.
yeah, it's a great question. I mean, for one, it's often talked about is meditation. And let me just redefine a little bit of meditation. Oftentimes, especially people that don't know meditation, they're like, oh yeah, there's that crazy man
Boring.
sitting in the top of the Himalayas, like in lotus pose in meditation. And yes, there are monks that do that for their entire life. That's perfectly fine. A great teacher of mine in my early 20s said, I love this definition of meditation. Meditation is the appreciation of what is. Meditation is the appreciation of what is, meaning that I can sit in this cafe, the world is going on around me, and I can just take this vast appreciation of what is. I can be present with this woman, with this sea, with this boat, with this, with nature all around me. Like, the gift of our it's always there. So when we appreciate what is, we allow the mind to recognize, yes, okay, now mind is being grateful for what is. There's that heart. There's that, like, that inner softness that comes through when we reside in the spaciousness. So the tool that I use all the time, that I've used for many, many years, is sometimes throughout the day, whether I'm out in public, is I'll just sit and I'll just observe. And I'll just observe through the eyes of God, through the eyes of love. Like, you might be observing, let's say, a couple getting in an argument. You might be observing your own inner thoughts. You might be observing the beautiful, like, cusp of the sunlight hitting the ocean and the sparkles that are coming off out of it. Like let your life be a masterpiece. Let your life be an art piece that you're drawing every day. And the only way that you can draw is by sitting back and cultivating an essence of presence into your world. Because if you're not seeing the art that's happening before you, then you're caught in the future projected fantasies where you wish you want to be, or you're caught in the past remembered guilts and fears, and you're not actually being present with what is. So when I sit and I meditate, you can do it eyes open, you can do it eyes closed. You're taking appreciation of what is, so that you're appreciating the masterpiece that is your life, that is the lens to which your eyes are seeing the world around you.
So, how about times where you are down and low and, really disturbed with your emotions? How about those times?
Well, again, great question, because people oh yeah, you're sitting on a beach in Ibiza,
Yeah,
like you
yeah,
must be
it's
in
so
paradise.
easy.
Oh, it's so easy. It's so easy. Listen, and this is one thing I always try to make clear is, like, any speaker, anybody doing this work, I feel the only way to authentically do it is to share transparently the things we go through. Even last night, like with my beloved, like we had not a massive disagreement, but there was a space of compromise. There was a space of, she wanted to go somewhere and I wanted to go somewhere else. And yet they were at the same time, they're at the same location. And there was like, okay, like, and I felt this like bubbling up inside of like, wow, I recognize that there's a space of compromise to love, and it didn't feel good. But I'll tell you, an old part of me would have been like, no, I'm fine, I'm man, I don't have emotions, I'm good, like, we're just gonna go and do what you want. But what I did was I sat with it. I sat with the emotions. I'm never gonna say I'm always 100% like loving and perfect and everything else like that. But what I do try to be is present to the emotions that are coming through me. So as we sat there, on the cliff and just allowing the emotions to come through, I walked through the pain. I walked through the discomfort that I was in, because there was a part of me that was like, no, I don't want to go there. This isn't fair. I want my way. Like that part, that little boy that comes up inside that's like, yeah. But the tool to walk through that is a willingness to surrender. It's a willingness to let go. It's a willingness to say, you know what, at the end of the day, I really know nothing. I don't know where I need to be. I don't know what's actually going on, but the best thing I can ever do is listen to the intuition and the guidance within that sometimes is like fighting me to go one way, but I'm not compressing my emotions into my body. That is the biggest tool that I feel like I can share, is that express the emotions. Doesn't mean you need to throw things at people. Doesn't mean you need to like cause a big scene. Just means that you have a willingness to actually share the emotions that are coming up inside of you. And this can be, again, counterintuitive, especially when you get into this dynamic balance between masculine and feminine. Because, and this is another point I want to bring forward, is for the women listening to this, yes, there is that feminine everything, that swirling energy. But one of the best gifts that you could ever give your man or a man in your life is the gift of your presence. Because when a man feels like he has this space and the spaciousness to surrender, to be held by a woman, it's amazing how much stronger he steps forward into the masculinity. And this is, again, counterintuitive, because it's like, no, man is present. Man is
Yeah,
always present. It's that
dominating.
Shiva. It's that Shiva, I am here to roar. But yeah, we have that. I know how to be that very well. But I'm learning even more how to surrender. And when I surrender, the woman can step forward into her presence. Because most women innately know how to be fairly feminine, fairly in their feminine goddess. But to step into maybe the presence of Shiva, to step in Shiva in the sense of like pure masculinity. It's referencing, I know you understand the Hindu reference, but I'm just giving it for the audience as well.
I forget that sometimes, yes.
Yeah. So that essence, that way of being, allows the man to deeply let go. And maybe it's letting go into tears. Maybe it's letting go into laughter and joy. But this balance of presence, of essence of presence, applies to both men and women. And I'll tell you, it's one of the best things in my partnership. Early on with Sophia and I, there was a moment where I felt that she was just there with me, completely present. And when I felt that in my mind and my body, it allowed me to let go deeper than I ever have before. Because I was always the one in partnership, in relationship, that was there, that was the healer, that was the holder of the light. And it was like, wow, I can let go of this presence just for a moment and just be okay and just full expression of everything. And that is it's not something that may happen overnight, but be willing, women who are listening to this, to step into a space where your man can let go, and the vice versa. This is always a dance that's happening, because both of you can hold presence. Both of you can hold, massive chaotic emotional turmoil. It's happening all the time, and that role can be reversed quite often. It was a little bit of a long answer, but essentially, it's being willing to express emotions in the moment, and being willing to shift and change the role between masculine and feminine at any given moment.
What I'm also taking away from this conversation is for us to fully experience our own emotions, isn't it? Like whatever comes up, because sometimes that's all is required. Like the uncomfortable emotions want to be seen and heard. And unless
Yes.
and until we do it, it's just gonna keep coming back and back and back.
Yes, yes. I had an experience a few months ago. I was taking a pretty deep dive into some sexual shamanic work, and I've done a lot of aspecting and working with parts of myself, but for literally almost 3 or 4 days, I found myself in New Zealand in an open field just crying and crying. And my mind didn't even know what the tears were about. But it was like I finally gave permission for my emotional body to completely let go. And it was just like tears of joy, tears of sorrow. But I had been spending so many years of my life diving deep into human behavior and why we do the things we do and what we do. Mind. It was like I had compressed my emotional body so much that when I gave permission for it to express, it was like a flood was just flowing through. And really, everyone might be on their own journey with that, but more than anything, give your emotional body an opportunity to express itself. Because if not, it shows up in the form of disease, of cancer, of all the things that happen inside of our body when we're trying to compress the things that we're feeling.
That's true. So, as we're coming to the end of our conversation today, would you like to share with the women watching what you are offering to them today?
Yes, I'm offering to anyone who would like to take a deeper dive into some of the information I've shared here, a 20-minute self-discovery call. This is intense. It's full on. It's a deep dive into who you are, why we're here, like how do you serve, and what's working in your world, what's not working. It's looking at your emotional triggers. It's looking at yourself from a 360 perspective. This is the work I do almost every day of my life. I have clients, I have CEOs, I have people I work with one-on-one via Skype. I have group coaching I'm starting up in a few weeks. But I want to give you a little bit of a free taste into what it's like to work with me. I'm guided by intuition, but I'm really just being present with who you are as a divine being, having your human experience, but how you can take all of this information to make a grounded evolutionary shift in how you show up every day of your life.
And I will be providing the link to book the session with you below our video so everyone can access that.
Beautiful.
So before we end now, I want to ask you a question that I've been asking every single guide on this online temple. What
Okay.
does rising feminine mean to you?
What is the a rising feminine?
Yeah, what does rising feminine mean to you?
Well, what it means to me, and it's a little bit of a shift from like there's this whole feminist movement, but I feel like a feminist movement is usually women looking at the ideology of men and trying to be men.
Yeah.
And what a rising feminine is men honoring like the walls of creation for the woman, honoring this divine female essence that is the goddess. And within that, when a man can devote and to honor like what is that rising feminine, then women rise up and they allow humanity itself to express itself more emotionally, to express itself, its feelings, its essence, and allows that to really circumvent into every aspect of life. So the rising feminine is that divine feminine essence that's really showing up more and more as the shadow is happening more and more in the world, and people are recognizing there is a essence of femininity that is not a feminist movement. It's divine in nature, and it's actually from the essence of pure creation. It's the essence of pure divine creation that we can then see inside of a feminine being that is unlike what society's hierarchical forms are shaped of from a man.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Aaron, for being here and for your generosity to offer the free session as well as your time in this online space today. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. It's been a pleasure.